Hello, somewhat of a spontaneous live. I really need to get back to doing my themes. They were so lovely, but I am a little bit busy at the moment. And so coming up with the themes has, not really been at the forefront of my mind. But you still served me some great questions, so I will get to them. Is Mistress going to create a femdom house with new submissives and mistresses? No. What gave you this idea? I have some things that are floating around me that I can't really speak about that maybe are sort of in this potential direction, but nothing concrete. And I am not going to have that in my new home. So I recently moved to London properly. I know I've been here so much, but I recently got an actual home here, and I do have dungeon furniture coming in from Germany that I ordered a very long time ago, which will be nice to have. I do enjoy having my cages and my vantage points throughout my home, but in terms of a lot of people running through it, I tend to prefer that my spaces are quietly mine with a few people serving here and there. Any fun trips or events coming up in the coming summer months? I am doing a lot less SM travel this year, except for when I see my subs here and there. I am doing a lot more film festival travel because of the film that I was in, Grief Encounter, as well as a few other things that have lined up. So I will be, even in just the next month, in Brussels for the film festival that's screening Grief Encounter at the beginning of the month, and then I'm going to go to Cannes, and that with a good friend of mine. And anything else in May? No. And then in June, I'll be at Art Basel. And then I will be heading over to the US again for a lot of June and July. But in terms of events to do with kink, I am skipping a lot of the summer ones at the moment. Yeah, my life has taken a bit of a mainstream turn, if you hadn't noticed, and I'm indulging that and seeing where that might go. And I guess since we're on that, I may as well speak about it a little bit. Now, I'm very open to the fact that people are open to what I do for work and to this industry and people in this industry in general. I'm very wary that people are trying to capitalize on it for commercial gain at the moment. It seems to be very trendy. So I'm being a little cautious around that, but at the same time, I understand that it's a potentially useful moment for us, and it would be good if I was able to take advantage of that in some way as somebody who is already public and out. And yeah, so I'm navigating that current culture as best as I can right now. If you have any ideas on it, please feel free to share. It's really something that's at the forefront of my mind, and I would love it if I had any more advice. Okay, so can aspiring workers access my resources? Still unsure how to get started. So I have been writing a guide of sorts, but it's turned into a memoir of sorts, and it's like so cliche to me. Worker writes memoir, but that's just my style is very conversational. I've been transcribing it, and so that's kind of where it sits at the moment. I do have chapters on the different places that I've worked, so the dungeon, the agency, etc. But and so it definitely goes into a lot of little logistics and the way that things were run, but it also talks about the dynamics within those spaces and how I reacted to them. It's turned into something like this. So I don't know. I was hoping to get it done by this summer, and I think I could definitely get a first draft done by then, but it seems to be growing into something bigger than I imagined. So I mean, watch everything that I have available on here. I have a course to do, less with work and more with the lifestyle, coming out probably by the end of the year. And yeah, I think I already have quite a lot of things that are out here at the moment, Q&A wise. So use them as much as you can. And I swear that the published material will eventually come. Okay. Any advice for platforms to market yourself as a dom? I can't really mention that here, I think. But look for ones that are run by other workers. There's one with that starts with try and ends with T, ST, and that usually will set you in a better direction. There's a lot of forums, that platforms that end up doxing workers that will use the IDs that they have on file, or they get raided and this kind of thing. So I would be very careful about where to advertise. And the one that I mentioned is one that I personally have current faith in. I did say ask me anything. If I drop a ball in your garden, do you return the ball or do you puncture the ball? I guess it depends on how well I know the person who threw the ball. Do I know that they would enjoy that I punctured the ball? Then I would puncture the ball. But usually I'm a get somebody else to throw it back over the fence kind of person. What's a misconception that people have about you? At this stage, I don't know if people have too many misconceptions, because I do put out so much material. And I'm pretty authentic to what I present on here. But what do people have misconception-wise maybe about my work and about the industry that... I don't know, that it's maybe one-dimensional, whether that's good or bad. And I think that like any work, and especially like anything that is judged as... it's just hard to choose a proper word for this. But anything that is sidelined by society and that is still living in the shadows, I guess. I think that these things tend to take on a one-dimensional way of being talked about and being thought about in the rest of culture. And so I think that the complexity that my work isn't recognized and isn't thought about or even imagined. It's just too much for people to comprehend. So I think that's probably the thing that maybe is still apparent. There's still a lot more knowledge that could be gained, shared, understood. Plan to visit Romania and collaborate with Azada Sin again. Not this year. I always adore seeing Azada. I'll probably end up seeing her when maybe she'll come to London for events towards the end of the year. Okay. When you started off, how did you organize your education, learn new skills with a mentor? So I started off in a dungeon, which means that I was surrounded by about 25 other people doing the same job as I was doing, but at much more advanced stages. So I got to be around them, to listen to their stories, their advice, and that was a great resource for me. The headmistress of the facility also organized a few training sessions, and I just took everything on board. It was a lot of information. I was very, very lucky. And since then, after I left, I was independent, and I do classes every now and then. If I find somebody who has a particular technique that I really enjoy, I will ask whether they give any trainings and do it that way. And I've even watched, some YouTube. So I think it depends on your hunger and how well you know yourself. And then you can find resources that align. Are you a dom in relationships 24/7? How do you keep it genuine and not like a scene? So who's to say that a scene is not genuine? I think that they can be, and even when you put in effort to construct something, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to lose a sense of the genuine. Am I a dom in all relationships? In my friendships, I don't exert that persona or that kind of effort, but I do tend to have more of an assertive, outspoken personality, especially for Westerners, and so I probably come across as a dom most of the time in this context. But how do I keep things genuine? I think even in scene, I keep things as genuine. I think I try to just approach everything with a genuine point of approach, because I don't know how to do otherwise without it being exhausting for me. And so basically how I'm emoting is going to move the world around me according to what it inspires. So that's just my general approach. So this question about lipstick, it's not going to be this one because I just ate it all off. But I think you mean the dark red one, and that is a Tom Ford, like one of those liquid ones. I'll maybe take a little photo of it for you on here later. But yeah, no, it's amazing. It really actually does not budge, and I've tried a lot of things. So, do I practice erotic hypnosis? So I don't go out of my way to know what that is or to learn techniques around it. I don't research techniques on how to control or manipulate people either. I feel that I naturally already have too much skill in that direction, and if I were to add to it, I feel like I would tip over into a space that was too obviously manipulative. And I'm trying to just gently engage with others as opposed to run them. And I already have a predisposition to running the world around me. So I've avoided the world of hypnosis quite a bit because of that ideal. So I'm going to say, not to my knowledge, but probably it's already there. If you weren't a dominatrix, what would you like to do for a job? I just got back from another interview with Lat Bible, which is why I have the face, which is why I decided to do a Q&A monorail. And they asked me something similar, and I said that I would probably follow in the footsteps of my father and become a barrister, but it wouldn't have been something that I would have liked, I think. I think I would have found aspects of it challenging and engaging, and the information would be stimulating, but if I were to stop today knowing what I know about what I enjoy, I don't know, what other kinds of jobs can you toy with human emotion and play with minds? I feel like maybe acting could be something interesting. I don't have any aspirations to act. That world looks very difficult and very if you were to do it professionally, I don't think it would be something that would be very easy at all, and I don't have the motivation for pushing that forward. But I think as an art, I think it seems very captivating to me. So I mean, I would only stop doing dom work. Yeah, I don't know if I will. So I'm not sure what else I would do. What do you think I would do? Again, I did say ask me anything. If I have a gap under my fence, should I use rocks or dirt to fill it? Well, I don't know. I'm kind of partial to both. Dirt looks really good on people sometimes. Rocks have a density. I don't know. But that was very cute. Okay, so how am I? Thank you. Thank you for asking. How is my health with such travels? How do I manage it? I'm pretty used to traveling now. Long haul once or twice a month is going to be fine for me. Anything more than that, it gets a little boring. Anything more than that, I really need to have a lot of time alone. In general, I'm very lucky to be very healthy. I'm almost never sick, and I think I eat fairly well, and I do exercise, and I keep my stress levels to a minimum. So in general, I don't really have too much to worry about. So, so I'm doing really well. Thank you. A lot of time alone and with an awareness of what's good for me is how I manage my life. Okay, what is my daily routine like? Do I have sessions daily that keep me busy, just like a 9 to 5? So I used to do shifts when I first started. So that's 8-hour shifts at least 3 times a week. And the other days I would keep free for freelance work. But I don't work like that anymore. Nowadays, I'll see somebody for maybe 2 or 3 days a month consecutively. So that's one person for 2 or 3 days. And then maybe I'll throw in an additional 2 sessions a month, like just over an hour or so. That's about it. The rest of my time is spent these days fielding a lot of like media offers and projects and like things not necessarily to do with sessioning anymore. The industry is shifting and people's interest is shifting, and I've mentioned this earlier on. I'm really trying to figure out how to navigate that. So any tips, again, feel free. How many kilos do you weigh? Curious, from when I get a trampling. Who says that my weight is going to be trampling anywhere near you? I think I'm 54 at the moment. Do you recommend working in a dungeon versus independently? I think that if you have the fortitude for handling a lot of people and personalities, or at least be ready to know that that's going to be a big challenge, I would say always start in an environment where you are surrounded by as many diverse opinions and ways of working as possible. And of course, there are better and worse spaces. I was very lucky that I started in a decriminalized market that was in Sydney, and so everything was quite regulated and I was well protected. But outside of that environment, I can't speak to the quality of play spaces and dungeons that are around the world. But I was very lucky that in that environment I got that opportunity, and it was such a valuable opportunity, and I'm going to be eternally in debt to all of the people who worked there and shared their experiences with me. Oh, and then I guess just to finish that, and then independently you do get to dictate a lot of things, but then you also have to do a lot of your admin. And so I think at the end of the day, I think beginning and learning around an environment where you're surrounded is great, but eventually you have to understand how it is that you want to work and your work style, and that could be suited to any environment, really, depending on you. Oh, this is, nobody asked me about my movie choices. What are your top 3 favorite movies of all time? This is extremely difficult because I don't think in large pieces so much. I think more in moments. I think The Night Porter, where the scene where, there's a few scenes in that, but in particular where the main woman is dancing for all of the officers. I think that is quite something captivating, and the power dynamics in that are just a huge mind. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. The scene Under the Skin, where she's walking and her captured are walking behind her and they kind of melt into the ground. That's also another moment that I find very special to me. And another scene that really comes to mind. Oh, goodness. Maybe we can try something a little lighter. Are there any fun, light movies that I enjoy that are not to do with power struggles. Maybe I'll just leave it at my top two, and then I'll try to think of something lighter later down the conversation. Okay. What do I mean by the industry? People's interests are changing. So, for example, like I am speaking to somebody who's going to be potentially my agent, all right? Somebody, a worker who is a dominatrix is about to have an agent. I mean, if you had told me that 10 years ago, or 12 years when I first started, I would have been like, what? Why? I would never have imagined that people would be asking me to be in TV shows or helping them write movies or selling this or selling that. It's just like the culture of our world is shifting, and it's very trendy right now to be aligned with this industry, to not accept it, but to be aligned with, which I have a problem with. So it's like a very interesting period of time where I think we are potentially moving towards acceptance and hopefully legislation, because that's what we need. But I think that's what I mean when I mention that things are changing, and I am trying to navigate them as best I can. Okay, so questions as opposed to statements. Oh, curious to know why you chose London for your new home, and welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the kind welcome. I chose it because a lot of my friends are here. A lot of the better parties are here. And I feel much more free here than I do anywhere else at the moment. And when I say the word free, it means that I can go to, kink parties. It means that I can walk the street wearing this and be okay. That I can order dungeon furniture and I don't have to take the branding off and all of these things that I had to do when I lived in Indonesia. And it's just a sense of freedom. And also there's a lot of opportunities here. Like I was mentioning, all of these people who are approaching me to do things. A lot of it does come from here, and it's more progressive than America at the moment. And even though I do have a lot of friends in New York, it's just not a friendly environment for people in this industry, whereas it's a bit more receptive here in London. And so I think it's just good timing for me to be here in this environment right now. Yeah, I've talked a lot today. Some of you who have been here a little while, I mentioned that I just got back from an interview with Lab Bible, and I'm starting to realize that I'm quite tired. So I'm just going to answer a couple more, and then I think I need to check out. But as always, I'm so grateful that you're here watching, and I love that people are interested in what I do in this industry, that you're curious. I love that I'm able to speak freely, and I hope that it moves towards less of a place of speculation and more of one of integration. I would love it if what I did became boring and normal. And I could just quietly enjoy the small aspects of it. But for now, this is where I land. So here we go. Just to add to my question about 9 to 5, do you still do work other than sessions or just this? So sessions and then things adjacent to my identity as a dominatrix. I also do some charity work to do with worker organizations as well as animal things. My two favorite focuses. But aside from that, I have some other business interests, but I don't do anything for them really. Yeah, I'm getting very tired, huh? Well, I'm getting much slower. So just maybe one more. Oh, that's a good one. Oh no, there's so many good ones. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's do this one and then we'll wrap with something about my guide. Do you feel that there are changes in the industry right now from when I first joined? I mean, I know so much more now. So I was really ignorant and in like my tiny little realm when I first started. And of course, I still only know my world, but my world's a bit bigger than it was when I first started. So do I think that it's different? I think that our landscape of life is different and we have moved with it as well as pushed it. Social media is a thing. It wasn't for me back then, although I do know some people were on Twitter. I think that the fact that things like Backpage got taken down and Foster Sesta has happened, I think has made it actually more dangerous for a lot of people to work in various parts of the world. And the fact that places like, I don't know if I can mention OF on here, but like online platforms that are connecting you to workers online for online interactions. I mean, that's a new thing, and that's added a dimension and access that wasn't there before. So I think that the landscape has really changed, but do I think that the content has changed that much? I think there have been some small shifts, like when it comes to money being the focus, kink. I think that probably saw a rise in popularity. I'm not sure if it's as big as it was, say, maybe like 5 years ago. But you know, there will always be shifts and changes, and we will move with technology and or inspire it. I don't think that that's different to any other industry. And are there any huge differences just within hours? I think a lot more people are interested in doing it. That's been a huge theme, and I'm very, very curious to see where that goes. I don't want to gatekeep. I don't, but I also want to make sure that whilst it's a hostile societal and governmental environment, that people are safe as possible. So that's kind of my concern around that. And I think that feeds very well to our last question. You used to have a guide that I see you don't share anymore. Is your book an expansion of that? And or is it still available for, and then it cuts off the question. But yes, that is exactly it. I had a pretty brief guide. It had a lot of like protocol around how I ran things. It was useful, but it was very limited. And I wasn't happy with it after a little while. So I have since closed that and I decided to write a bigger one. But the bigger one has turned into like a storytelling endeavor. So that is the book that's happening. I'm not sure whether it's going to come out as a book or whether it's going to come out in another format, but it's essentially me talking about these different stages and different workplaces and my interactions within them and how they operated. So I don't know how exactly that might end up emerging, but I am fleshing out each of these chapters right now. And I'm really enjoying it. It's like reliving these very challenging, often fun, difficult, enlightening periods of my life and the characters within them. So look out for that. And yeah, if you are a worker and you want to be put on the list for any updates on that, you can email me. My email's on my website. And thank you very much for being here, as always. I'm sorry that I got a bit slow and quieter than usual, but it's, I guess, been an intense day. And I did just move in 4 or 5 days ago, so fair enough. Time for me to get some rest. Thank you so much for being with me. Bye.